Hello, everyone. Welcome. We've got a lot of people jumping in. As soon as I hit that start button, I saw those numbers going up. So we've got a lot of people jumping in. Welcome. Welcome to week 5 of our webinar series, Level Up with Curate. We're going to give everyone just another minute or two to hop on. I'm still seeing people join. So we'll just give another minute for them to join and we're going to get started. So go ahead and step away, grab your drink, grab your notepad, whatever you may need while we're giving everyone just another minute. Hi, everyone. If you've just joined, we're here at week 5 of our Level Up with Curate webinar series. We've got several people that are still joining the webinar now, so we're going to give just maybe one more minute and we're going to get kicked off. Alrighty, we're gonna get started. Well, welcome to week 5 of our Level Up with Curate webinar series. I cannot believe it's already week 5. This is just, I mean, we put a lot of work into it, but it's flown by for us to already be here. Well, today we're so excited that you're here. Today we're going to be we're going to be really digging deep into some more administrative pieces. So, not necessarily in the actual events, but more of the bigger picture pieces that kind of go into it. The automations that are going to kind of go into it. We're really going to look at reporting. There are a lot of people that don't realize kind of the level of reporting that we have in the system. We're going to kind of go over those pieces today. We're going to be covering those things today. Um, so we're going to be going over some advanced tools, some insights. If I haven't met you before, I'm Shannon. I'm a self-proclaimed Curate expert. I say I am. Who knows if that's really true? But we've also got Brooklyn, who is a legitimate Curate expert. She is our product manager here at Curate. She helps really build the system, take all of the feedback, and kind of bring that to life in the system. And we've also got Joshua that's joining us today. He's going to be on chat, working chat. So if you have any questions or anything, he's one of our support heroes. He's in chat every single day. So you've probably spoken with him before, but he'll be working chat during our webinar. So if you have any questions or anything, feel free to just throw them down into the chat box down there. Um, uh, Before we jump in, we've just got the same quick links that we always share. We've got our product feedback link. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have seen so many people submitting things to this. And truly, like I always say, like everything good that you see in our system, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but I do, everything good that you see in our system, it really comes from our customers that's sharing things with us. So please do submit that feedback. Every day we're improving all the time. And a lot of that just comes back to what our customers are saying that they want, that they need, prioritizing things for us so that we know what to build and how to help you the most. So Brooklyn's going to share that in there right now. The other one that we've got is our Curate community. So if you want to just reach out and look for some ideas for how people are using things, really everything that we talk about on these calls are from what we see that people are using in the system. But Brooklyn's sharing that one as well. Feel free to like sign up there, log in there, throw out some questions, introduce yourself. It's a way to connect with other people that are actively using Curate to manage their business. Just a reminder, if you have attended, I mean, today's the 5th session, But if you have attended 4 out of the 5 sessions, we are going to send over a Curate certification to you. So we've been making the list, checking it twice. So we're going to be sending that out to you for people that have attended to four out of the 5 sessions. So for our call today, feel free to drop anything right in the chat. Joshua is going to be keeping an eye on that while we're chatting through some things. If you have some other ideas of ways that we can use some of the things that we're going to be talking about, please do put it there because we keep all of that information to share with people in the future. We're always learning and growing. Throw those things in there. Um, but what we're actually going to dive in right now. So grab your notepad or whatever that you need. Grab your coffee. I've got my coffee right here at noon, 1 o'clock for me, but I've got my coffee. Join us as we jump in. So, Brooklyn actually is going to lead the way today. Today, we're talking about advanced tools or deeper things that you can look at in the system. So, Brooklyn, I'm actually going to stop sharing. Brooklyn's going to share her screen. She is going to lead the way in for talking about branches. So, if you want to use branches or are interested in branches.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon. I will go ahead and share and then we'll dive right in. Okay. All right. So as Shannon mentioned, we're going to start off today with discussing branches. Really, branches are super helpful if your business has multiple locations or even just kind of like different maybe segments of your branch within the same company. And so I'm going to just click into settings and then we'll have this branches tab up here. So as I just kind of chat through this, we'll give you all a visual. If this sounds like something that could benefit you, please reach out to our team. We can help you get this set up. But basically, you can create and manage your branches here. We have some different names, so this is just showing different companies. But we see a lot of folks that will utilize this. Maybe your floral business has grown over the years and you've opened up a new location across town, or maybe you've opened up, a new location in a completely different state. We see that with caterers as well. We have several companies that use Curate that kind of manage the same parent company, but then they have kind of these levels of companies underneath the parent. And it just makes more sense to have one system to manage all those different branches and locations in one system. But sometimes there are unique items that are particular to a certain branch, which is where this comes in to help manage it and organize it, depending on the location. So you'll have a branches tab in your settings if this is on your account, and then you can apply branches throughout your account to help organize and manage kind of who has access to what. Maybe certain products are only available at certain locations, things like that. So I'll kind of click us around so that you can see how branches can be applied here. And another benefit of branches is going to be on taxes. Shannon is going to kind of walk us through taxes a little bit later in the webinar, but we see it a lot mostly for payments and tax purposes. So your branches are here, but you'll notice if we go down to the payments tab, you'll have this branch kind of drop down throughout the system if you do have multiple branches on your account. So if we have payments, you can see here that I can select which branch goes to my payment. And so if you did have those other branches on here, you would want to set up, different payment processes for each individual location, most likely due to, how taxes are handled, and then just processing and keeping all your records nice and clean and organized to that individual organization. So you have branches on your payments. You're also going to have branches with your integrations, which Shannon will also kind of talk about a little bit later with your integrations. So you'll see here that you can select which branch you would like to connect with these individual integrations. I won't get too much into this as Shannon's going to cover it later, but you can also manage your branches within inquiries. And so when you're creating forms. And I know we talked about this either last week or the week before, as Shannon mentioned at the start of the call. I can't believe we're already on the fifth week here, but I know on a week prior, I don't know which one. But we did talk about setting up forms. And so this is another way you can utilize branches. You can associate a branch to a form to keep things nice and organized. And then when those inquiries come in, you'll see here the branch that that inquiry is tied to. And then you can also filter filter by branches. So if you're looking at your inquiries here, you can filter by branch and you can see which branch you want to review if you have multiple locations. You also can apply your branches within the catalog. You can apply them to products, components, or rentals if you have the rentals add-on. Another great tool to staying organized, maybe certain particular items are only available in a certain location. Maybe you have a location up in the Northeast and you are a caterer and you have, fresh fish that you offer that you might not offer, inland if you're here in St. Louis. So there's certain ways that you can tie certain branches to your products, and then you can also apply multiple branches if it does apply across multiple locations. So just a way to keep things organized here as you're building out your kind of flow with how things are managed, where they should live. You can also apply your users to branches. So maybe you have like a management team that needs to have access to multiple locations, but then you might have some assistants or someone that doesn't need access. You only want them to have access to the particular location that they are tied to. So you could also do that if you're clicking into the user. You can see here we also have a branches drop down where you can apply what they have access to in the account. So another way to kind of filter through and organize different views of the system. You can also apply filters on for branches on your calendar. So if you like to filter by that location, that's something that you can do as well. I guess I should opt into account that I actually have multiple locations so that I could filter it through, but it would live here if that is what you're looking at. So you can filter on the calendar, you can filter on the event list. We kind of talked about filtering through forms and inquiries, and then also through your catalog. So lots of ways to stay organized. Like I mentioned, if you have multiple locations, or even just different segments of your business that it would make sense because they're operating, quite differently, but they're still living under a parent company. Branches is definitely very beneficial to you. So please let us know if that's something that we could help you with. We could get you set up with that. And I'm going to pass it over to Shannon now, and she'll kind of dig into some reporting. But let us know if you have any questions in the chat. Thanks. Oh, Shannon, I think you're on mute.
Sorry. I
No,
am.
you're okay. I was like, I can see that you're trying to talk to us.
Okay. So what I'm going to dig into, we're going to kind of build on some of this stuff that Brooklyn talked about. I'm going to utilize some of that in what we're going to look at today. But um, on the reporting, the main thing that what I'm going to lead with right here is talking about reporting. There's a lot of data in the reporting. Sometimes people ask me, what can you do with reporting? And I'm like, can you be a little bit more narrow? Because there's a lot you can do. I'm going to navigate over here to this reports tab right here. Now, honestly, we don't have time to hit every single type and really dig deep on every single type of reports that we have, but we are going to try to cover most of them and kind of show you what's possible in the system. There is always more that's possible. I'm a data person. I like my Excel sheets or my Google sheets. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. But so there's always more that's possible. So if you want to dig in deeper, feel free to set up a time with our team. I can kind of help you get a little bit more data out of this. But we're going to start here on this events report. Generally, in the system, where what all of this is where you can choose the different types of reports that you have here. This is how you can choose what you're going to filter by. It'll make a little bit more sense when we're looking at our events. And this is a quick thing for dates and times. You can choose a date range that you want to put in here. So I'm going to start on the events report, and I actually want to use Q1. My example for today is going to be based on Q1. So let me get through March. I'm going to go ahead and generate that report. Now in here, you can choose, do I want to do it based on the date of the event? Most commonly, honestly, that's what I look at is the date of the event. You can also filter by the created date that falls within that time range. We wouldn't have anything because we're looking in the future, but you may be kind of looking in the past and say, Okay, what are all of the events that we created in September? How many of those are actually moving forward? What's our booking rate for the month of September for the people events that we created? What does that kind of go into? We're not going to be doing create a date. We're going to be doing by the date today. On this events report, it really shows a lot. This is the most popular report, most common report that people are using because it shows so much data in here. Now, these tables, all of our tables are going to be sliding left and right tables. That gives us the ability to not squash everything together to try to fit it on one screen, but still give you a very robust report and data that goes into that. So on this events table, you're going to see we have status, we've got create date and the event date. We've even now we released this maybe a month ago. We've even got the booked on date so that you can see how many days to booked was it actually. What's our actual days to book for that time range? You can also see that we've got the event owner, you've got other things about it, guest count. Something that is key, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in just a second, is I can see what's the subtotal, but what's the taxable amount for this event and what are the taxes for those events. What are the fees in there, total price, all of those pieces that kind of go into it. Total paid is actually payments that were made. We just don't have any documented for our example. You can see recipe costs, profit, you've got tags showing in here as well. This is one of those places where I love using tags. And I know I always find an excuse to talk about tags. But here's another reason to talk about tags. You can use tags to document pieces about your event. So you can talk about other vendors that are going to be on that event, the venue, you may be a venue, or maybe it's a venue that you work with a lot. You can talk about the style of that event, the person that worked that event. You can document all of that here in tags. And I'm going to show you in just a minute a little bit as kind of a dip our toe into the pond of how can I check at the data that comes with those tags? What can I do with those tags? So tags are going to be on this report as well as location information. The other thing that is on this report, this kind of loops us back to something that we talked about earlier on. It's categories, line item categories. This is one of those places where those categories are really important, where you can actually see where is the money coming from. When I'm looking at my event, where's the money coming from? Is it beverage? Is it my fees? Is it florals? What is it? We have a lot of categories in our test account. You should usually have less. You generally want to have less categories in there. But you can have a lot of categories, and the sum of that can show down here at the bottom. Now, when you're navigating and you're reporting, just notice that over here, if I'm saying, what is this event? What is the San Diego Event Center? If I hover over this event ID right here, see how this little box pops up? If you click on that box, that will open up that event so that you can see exactly what's going on in that event rather than clicking that ID right there. That's going to take me away from the report. That means I'm going to have to pull my report up again. So it's kind of a pain. So just click on that box whenever you're trying to pull that up. Over here, you can also choose if you want to hide some columns. There may be some stuff that you don't necessarily care about on this report, and you're just trying to make it a little bit more, succinct. You don't want to show quite so much. You can use these columns to hide whatever those pieces are that you want to put in there. That's going to be there. Let me pull this up again. I always do that on my computer where I kick myself out of reports. You've also got filters right here. So you can filter by status. Sometimes people don't care about ones that are only created or they're in different stages. Maybe you only care about booked or completed. You can filter down to just view those events if that's really what you're looking at. You can also filter by event owner. So a lot of times, this is one of the things where it could be really good if you have multiple users. If you've got multiple people that are running sales and you want to have them own their own events, so they're going to have their email address associated with that event, but you also want to track their success. You can filter it down by the event owner and see how successful are they being. How many events are they creating versus how many are actually moving to booked. You could generate their sales rate, their booking rate with that. So it's a handy way of filtering with that one. You can also, this does include archived events, so those are going to show here, but you may want to not have those showing. You can exclude those. So just utilize this filter up here for for choosing exactly what you want to show in there. On this events report, we've kind of talked about that. The other thing that I want to show here for this events report, I don't have a date range actually, so it's just pulling in everything. But I'm going to go ahead and export this data. All right. So you can see that I've exported this. I've got my project CSV file right here. I did this other one earlier and it will show a date range if you have put a date range. I just didn't have a date range in there. So if you like to use Sheets or Excel or something like that, we use Google Sheets. I will say that Google um you can have a free account. If you're just getting started or whatever, you can have a free account where you can utilize Google Drive and use their sheets. It is worth it. It is worth it if you're just getting started. I mean, I use Google Sheets all the time. But I've got this folder up here and I want to create a new sheet for that report. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go to Google Sheets. I just created a new one and you can say like curate events report, whatever you want to call it. All right. I wanted to show this because I do think there's quite a few people that they don't even know, you may not know how to pull a sheet in and look at that data. That was a part of that export. So if you have Excel, the process is a little bit different with Excel, but Google Sheets is free, so I show that off. Once you've created a brand new sheet, I'm going to close out some of this stuff so it's not so confusing. But once you've created a brand new sheet, I'm going to go here to File. I'm going to click Import. I'm going to go to Upload right there. And I use this same process every single day, multiple times a day. So you can use this for all of your files. File, Import, and go to Upload. Then it's going to say Browse. And you can look at that. There's that report right there that I just downloaded. You can see the time associated with it. The downloads, it's going to filter to be like your most recent stuff. I'm going to click open and it's going to ask you, what do you want to do with that? Usually, if you've already created the sheet, you want to do replace current sheet. That's what you want to pick, replace current sheet. And I'm going to click import data. Okay. Now, this is everything that was in that report that I just downloaded. It's a lot. I know it's a lot, but you can even filter down what you want to show there. So I'm actually going to I'm going to hide these guys just to kind of get it out of the way, right? And then I'm going to put a quick filter on here. I like this filter button. I use it all the time, right? If I go in here, I can go to my tags and I may want to say wedding. What are all my events that I may want to do a wedding on? So let me clear this out. I'm going to choose wedding. I just want to see what are all of the events that have that wedding tag on it. That's a quick filter. So I can see for all of the events that I have done, and let me expand out the project name so you can kind of see that. Of all the events that I've done, I can quickly see, okay, I've got 8 people, eight events that were wedding out of those. So I like to use the filtering. Now, I'm not going to go super deep into the to Google Sheets. I could go all day with that. But that's a quick look at how you can even take the data from Curate, export that, and then utilize that and go further. You can go pretty deep, but you can go further in Google Sheets or Excel to extract data from that. So that's going to be the events report. The other thing I wanted to point out was this create custom report. So this is based on a certain tier in your account, and there are certain limits that may be associated with that, depending on what type of plan that you have or whatever. But if you see this, go ahead and click it, create custom report. You can go in here and you can call this whatever you want to call it. Um, and what I'm going to do is you can pull from that events report. So I may want to say, yeah, I can do that last month events. Okay. So I'm going to choose the event start date and I'm going to choose that date range. I'm going to pick last month so that that's always going to be there. And then you can choose what columns that you want to show. So I want owner, I want status, I want name, I want event value, I do want tags, I do want branch, and I want the event date. Okay. You can just quickly pull together something that you may want to utilize. That's going to be your last month's events. So it's just a quick filtered down list of something that you can use there. and you can go back to that custom report. Now, we have two that show last month's events, but you can go back and quickly just pull up that information if that's something that you use a lot. So that's going to be a custom report that's going to be available. You can also download that right there in the system. Now, the next one that I want to take a look at, let me go back to our events report. The next one that I do want to take a look at is going to be taxes. A lot of times in the system, what people want to pull out of the system is going to be their taxes. The way that our system works when it comes to tax recognition, revenue recognition, for events, generally the way that you want to recognize taxes is going to be based on the actual date of the event. They call it the date of exchange of goods. So, when are you actually giving these goods to these people? That's whenever you're actually recognizing that revenue. So, that's a pretty common way across the event industry of when you're going to recognize those taxes. There are some people that will recognize it based on the date of payment, but generally that's not the standard. Generally, you want to do it based on the date of exchange of goods. So, one way that you can pull those taxable amounts is you can go into the events report. Now, I know this is in the future, so technically I wouldn't be paying this right now, but say that you're submitting your taxes from last month, and just imagine that date range was last month. You can go in here. You can do the status. I would just do booked or completed. It kind of depends on what you did for your statuses since those are customizable. Then you can go in here and you can see the taxable amount and get that sum, or there's the taxes right down there at the bottom. Now, you can do that right here on the events report. I do know a lot of people that do that. They will pull that from here so you can see everything, and it's super easy to jump into that exact event if something seems off or weird. You can also pull taxes in this taxes report. So I'm going to jump down to the taxes report. I've got that date range in there. I'm going to go ahead and click generate. If you had multiple tax rates or whatever in here, those would display right here as well. So this is going to show you taxes that you should do for that time range as well. Is that taxes report? It's just less visible because it's going to show you according to the sales tax. So sometimes people have multiple tax rates that they're charging, which is fine, but it kind of shows that breakdown right here. You can use that taxes report as well. The other ones that kind of goes along with money, which I guess everything kind of goes along with money, but kind of dealing into the accounting side, is going to be this accounts receivable report. So I'm going to put the way that this works is it works off of one date. So as of XYZ date, what is the status of these items? So if I put the 18th, I can do an accounts receivable report. It's going to pull up all of my events that are here, and it's going to kind of tell me the status for those events here. So I can see, okay, what's the subtotal, what's the taxes, what's the price, what's the payments made, and the balance due. And it's also got tags associated with it. So this is as of a single day, where are we with these events that are in here? Now, this report type, this is generally used for people that have a more of a enterprise level. So if you are in the enterprise plan, if you have an enterprise plan, you would have access to this account receivable one because this is more of a operational. I'm not coming up with the right word at the moment, but generally, if you have a very large operation, you're going to have somebody that's going to want to use this accounts receivable report because it gives you a quick bird's eye look, but it's very, very niche about what it kind of tells you that is important for your event. So that's going to be the accounts receivable one. The other one that is really popular with accountants is going to be the payments completed. So this is the payments made report. Let me go ahead and generate that. You can choose a date range for that one, but it'll kind of show you what's the event start date, what's the amount, what's the event that's done with it. So a lot of times if somebody is saying, what are all the payments that I received in the month of October? You can jump into this payments completed one. And then it also, again, has that quick look so you can jump right over to that event to see, what's going on? Where are we with this event? The other one in that same vein is going to be, oh, I should say this one. I see a lot of people pulling this for their accountants. So they'll just go in here to payments completed. They'll put that range in there and they're going to go ahead and export that and send that over to their accountants. I don't know everything that they do with that, but I think that they just do a cross with whatever your accounting software is That's something that I see commonly people do. I don't know the full extent of it, but I just know they do it. Then over here, we've also got the payments due report. So it's going to show the payments due in here. So it'll show the status of those payments. So these are payments that you have set up in the system. It's got again, the event ID where you can jump over and then the status of that. So you can quickly say, okay, what is due in the month or was due in the month of October? Where do we currently stand with those items? So it makes it just fast for you to follow up with those people if they have paid or not paid. Okay. The next one that we're going to look at, and I'm trying to move quick. I know we got a lot to go over. The next one that I'm going to take a look at is the line items report. I'm going to go ahead and put that date range in for January. Let me change my other one over here. January to March. With this line items report, this is another one that typically people that have a very large operation, they're wanting something like this because it is very deep. It is very in-depth look at everything that is happening on your events. So I put in this report so you can see the events that we have in this time range. Let me clear this out right here. You can see all of the events that we have in this time range. And what it actually does is it looks at every single line item, looks at the category, looks at the quantity, looks at the price, the subtotal, and the recipe costs or the assigned costs. Typically, you're using one or the other and kind of digs into every single thing to look at profitability. So if you are really looking deep into your line items, saying, are we being profitable for our events? The line item report is one place that you can do that. So this is a very in-depth report. Like I said, this is available on the enterprise level plans, but it is a very in-depth report for things that you can look at. The other thing that I'm going to kind of look on for the line items report is account codes. I commonly get this question, what do you use account codes for? What are account codes used for? Generally, what we see account codes used for, it is an accounting principle, something that you would use on your accounting side. It's where you would assign a code to a certain type of line item. Now, we have categories. Account codes are typically even more niche than the category. So you may have one category, but three different types of account codes that may kind of go with that. So for an example, maybe I have a rental item. I have a large rental item, but I may want to put an account code on that that's associated with the warehouse. My large rental items have an account code that's associated with my warehouse. My small rental items have an account code that is associated with like an in-store stock or supply or something like that. We're not going to have to call out to warehouse people to get this item for us. This is an in-store item, such as a candlestick or a plate. Something, maybe a plate may even be a warehouse item, but something small that we may keep in-house, a fork, something small. So you may have two different account codes for that. In my example right here, I actually did one account code for my bar items. So anything that may be associated with bar. So if I'm looking at like the revenue associated with the bar, the account codes associated with that, you can do that here. And then I did another account code for my food items. So you may have a beverage code and a food code, or maybe a floral code or a hard goods, line item kind of code. But that is important for accountants to get those numbers together so that you can quickly classify and get that data quickly classified, put in there. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too little or too much. Hopefully I hit that right in the right spot for account codes. If you want to know more or dig deeper into account codes, just let us know. That's a very niche area. We don't see a super widespread use of that. Before I leave, I did want to show how you can kind of see that on items. So let me go to my settings really quickly to show how you can set account codes. If I go to settings and I go down to account codes, this is where you can set those up. You can build those into whatever you want them to be in the system. And if you're assigning it to a line item, you can have it already assigned to the product, but you'll see that on the back end of the line item, or you can have an account code associated with that, and you can do it in bulk. So if I click those items and I click edit, I can change my account code right here. So if you're just quickly changing your account code right there, you can do that. Okay. Okay. The next thing, the last report I think that I need to look at is going to be uh is going to be the rentals range report. So I'm a big fan of our rentals range report. Okay. What the rentals range report is this will show you all of the items that are going into your events. Let me just click refresh really quickly. So these are going to be all of your all of your rental items. Let me put that date range in. This is a way to track all of the items that you're using for your events. There's a couple of different ways that we commonly see people utilize this. I'm going to look ahead and I'm going to say in Q1. So this is one of those ways that I'll see people use it. They're looking ahead to Q1 and they're saying, okay, how many of these items do we have? How many of these items are we already booked for? What do we need to go ahead and order in order to make sure that we are prepared for this event, for our events in Q1? So you can pull up your rentals range report. You can pull it by your event date right there. And you can see these are all of the ones that I'm using in that time frame. And then you can see, all right, if I do this breakdown, here's my 3 events that are using these candle holders or this black mobile bar. I use this one a lot. I've got 4 events that are utilizing this. I've got 4 events, so I can see the breakdown of those events. But as you scroll over, let me get my thing to work here. As you scroll over, you'll be able to see and compare what you have versus what you have in inventory versus what you need to order. Let me go back over here. Okay, doing this. Or maybe I don't have any over here. Let me see. Um, so you can see here, I've got my black linens right here. I can see the breakdown, of everything that I need. I know that I've got 25 in inventory, but I can see on this date of 2/28, I actually need 26. So I need to order another one of those. This one right here, I know of these gold chargers, I've got 200 in inventory, but on this 2/27 and 2/28, I've got 250 in my inventory right here. So I've only got a few. I know that I need to order more before this event in February. The other way that I see people use this rental range report is in the past. So we have many people that have a very big warehouse and it's packed to the gills with stuff. This is what I hear all the time. People usually have more stuff than what they actually know that they have. I'll tell you a little secret, something that I have learned in talking with many, many people of rental companies. If you have an accurate list of what your rentals are, you're doing really good. It is sometimes really tough to maintain that list of what do I actually have? What is my actual inventory number? It is very difficult to maintain that. That is one of the benefits of using the system is because you can maintain that you can maintain that list here in Curate. So if you know something is broken, just go update it in Curate and you can make sure I've got an accurate list that I can export. You can make changes. We can re-import that into the system for you. But with the rentals range report, that allows you to look ahead, but it also allows you to look in the past. So you may say, okay, in 2025, what are all of the rentals that I used? And what you can do is actually look for the things that are not on that list. What are the pieces that are taking space in your warehouse, but they are not getting rented? They are not getting booked. We need to clear some space out, get rid of some inventory so we have space to move things in. You can also do that here with the rentals range report. So it is a great way to kind of manage your rentals, see accurately what is actually getting used and what is not actually getting used on your list. Okay. Okay. The other thing that's going to be in the report section, I will go ahead and put this up right here, is this AI analysis. We have AI Assist. This is an add-on for your account. I haven't been doing a good job of showing it off while we've been doing everything in here. But with this AI analysis, something that is really handy with this is you can look at your different events. Like I'm going to look at my line item report, and you could say something like, what is our most common item that we sell? You can put in a query in here for just kind of getting some a look at your data, what stuff that we do with our data, try to get an answer about things that you're actually doing, so without doing an export, without putting it into Google Sheets or whatever, you can put that in here into our AI analysis tool to actually pull things out. So here we've got our black linens. It looks like these are going to be the ones that's the all of our items. Looks like it just gave us everything here, but all of our items of everything that we're using, candle holders 80, cocktail hour. So we've got those items that are showing here. So that's it's just something that we have in the system as well. It's growing more and more all the time with people's feedback, things that are in there, but you can put that in the system as well. Okay, I'll stop talking and I'm going to pass it back to Brooklyn. She's going to lead us through a couple more things.
Thanks, Shannon. Yeah, let me share, and then we're going to dive into some invoices, and then I'm going to move into automations after we talk about invoicing. So let me share, and then we'll go through an event together. Um, all right, so if you're on the event list page, you can access your event prints by just doing a check mark. I'm just going to look at this single event, but know if you're pulling prints, you can also kind of do that in bulk. So I'm going to click View Print for our Union Station wedding here. And then over here on the top left side, there are different print types. And so we have a handful of print types that come with your prints. They're kind of defaulted views. And then there's ways to customize your prints. But for this one, we're going to focus in on the invoice. So if I click invoice, it kind of resets what's selected here. And then of course, everyone kind of likes to operate, in different ways. So you can still customize this into maybe a more detailed view of items that you want included on that invoice. So, like for example, here, if I wanted to change a few things, I could remove maybe the dates and locations. Maybe we don't want the production notes. I could click in and I can remove that off. We have that option for the two column layout, or you can do the single column. So just again, all preferences of how you like to view your information. But this is really just pulling details from your proposal that are already in the system and just displaying it in a particular format. So here we have our kind of custom invoice. And one thing to note is that you can also add your let's see, where is it? Event description in here. And then we see a lot of folks utilizing this section to kind of clarify where this invoice is being billed to. So this is something that you can add into your event description on your event, and then that would show here on the print. And then kind of a flow that we often see is that you can of course print this by just clicking the print button. But we see a lot of folks, they like to utilize the invoices into a PDF. So I'm just going to walk us through kind of a quick flow of how you could do that if you're not already aware. But you can click the print button up in the top, and then it'll open your print preview. Instead of just going ahead and printing this, you can actually click more settings, and everyone's setup might be a little different. I'm on a Mac, but this is what it looks like in my print preview. But if you go to more settings, you'll see down here at the very bottom, it says Open PDF and Preview. And then that can open up, oh, it came on my other screen. That can open up your preview here. And from this point, you can then choose to save it. We see a lot of folks, they like to email it. So that's just a kind of a quick way to be able to generate that into a PDF form from that print button. And then if you have access to custom prints, you could then save this as your custom invoice view. So that's something to think about as well. Custom prints, depending on the different plane that you have access to those custom prints, and then certain number of those custom prints. So let us know if that's something that you're interested in, and we can help you as well get those custom prints set up. But that is how folks are utilizing our invoicing. And so to go from invoicing, we're going to jump over into some automations, and I'm going to kind of walk through some different ways. We often see folks utilizing our automations to help kind of streamline, speed up processes, do some behind the scenes work for you so that you don't have to manually do these pieces. So you're just going to go to settings. And then we're going to go up to automations. You can see in this kind of play account that we have a handful of automations already kind of in motion. We can see which ones are turned on, which ones are turned off. You can also choose to add your own descriptions. Just as a reminder, for yourself, I'm a big note taker. The team probably all knows that. I love taking notes and kind of, adding clarity to what things are. So if this helps your team, you can add descriptions to all of these as well, just to kind of remind yourself why you have this automation in place. So we'll kind of walk through creating a few. If you want to add an automation, you'll just click this button here and this slide out will open. I'll walk through some of the ones that we often most see, but there's tons of combinations of what you can actually do with automations. It's all based on what we call a trigger and an action. So the trigger is basically, when this thing happens or when this occurs, you select what that trigger would be. And then the action is just, hey, when this happens, I want this to then happen. So it's a connect the dots kind of system. So you would call the automation by a unique name of what you choose. You can then turn this on or off. So sometimes folks will just create them and then they'll go back in and turn them on. You can turn them on all at the same time of building it. It's up to you. And then here's where that description input is if you want to add a little note. So for this particular one, if you click into the trigger, so when this occurs, this drop down pops up, and then you can kind of pick, which one that you want to apply. So the first one that we often see is around deposits and contracts, and everyone operates differently on kind of what that process looks like of kind of considering your event to be booked. So we have the option of when all contracts have been signed, when a first payment has been received, or both, which is all contracts have been signed and the first payment has been received. So this is a way that you can set up. So if all your contracts have been signed and the first payment has been received, that typically signifies or signals that this event is booked. That client that you sent this to has made those first steps of locking in this date with you and they want to move forward. And so we're going to have that action be we want the event stage to be updated to booked. And as Shannon mentioned earlier, these stage names can be customized. So this is just kind of what we have in our system. But this is a common flow that we see people setting up is that when those contracts have been signed or that payment has been made, we want this event to automatically go into booked. So that's something that you could get set up. Another one that we see often around kind of event stages is going to be the expiration date. So I'm going to just start all over. We're going to add an automation. Again, you can go through, add the name description, and then for the trigger, we want to say when the event stage has been updated to, and then you can select which stage applies. So a lot of times this might be when the event is booked. We want to remove that expiration date. So in earlier sessions, we most likely talked about using expiration dates. They're very helpful on events, not only to kind of create a sense of urgency with your client, but also just, kind of setting some time frames with your clients of when they have access to things. So sometimes we see folks wanting to remove that expiration date when the event is booked. They're kind of using that expiration date as like a sales tactic of, hey, you have a week or 2 weeks, to move forward, and then this proposal expires. So it just kind of creates that sense of urgency on the front side of things. And then once they book, that expiration date can be removed. Sometimes we see folks, they might want it to be when it's completed. Maybe the expiration date is kind of moved a little bit further out after the event date, and then once that event has been completed, you could remove the expiration date. So there's all sorts of ways that you could set this up, just depending on how you like to kind of remove that expiration date if you're utilizing that feature in the system. There's a few more automations that I want to walk through, and those are going to be more around communication with your team and utilizing our email templates. So there's a way that you can set up an automation here to notify your internal team. Just again, to kind of go into just making sure your team is aware of when certain events have reached a certain stage. So we're going to say when this event stage is updated to in production, we then want to send an email notification This is going to pop down kind of a few extra steps for us, and we're going to be able to select the email template that we want. So maybe I have this already prepared in my templates folder, but this is going to be my production team notification. And then I would be able to select which team member that I would want to send this to. And these are going to be folks that are Curate users on your account. So these are pulling through of who you have added to your Curate account and as a benefit of having users in the system. And then you would be able to select that particular person that you want to send this to. And then this email would send directly to them once an event has hit production. So again, just kind of closing the gap of having to manually notify your team. As soon as an event has reached this stage, it's going to send off that email template to let your team know that they need to start reviewing this event or getting, some pieces in place to start preparing for it. And then one other one that we see common around email notification is actually emailing the customer, the project customer, the customer on your event. So you can set this up also to be when this event stage is updated to completed, we could then send an email notification. We could select which email template we want. So we see a lot of folks, they kind of like to do this maybe afterwards. It looks like I'll choose this one for this example. Thank you after booking. But it could be any type of email template. We've seen folks kind of send this post event to receive feedback of how things went. Maybe you're looking for reviews. You could send them directly to your site to leave, detailed reviews to you. It could just be a thank you. We appreciate doing the event. Anything you'd want to communicate with them, this will send that email. And then for the recipient, if you scroll down, depending how many users you have, there is an option to select the project customer. And so that would just kind of auto load into whoever is on that event. The system is smart enough to know, who is the customer on this project, and then that's who would receive this email. So just wanted to point out a few ways that we see folks utilize automations, but again, there's lots of combinations. Would definitely recommend going in and playing around with it. You just want to make sure that as you're building them, that you're toggling them on. And you can run these automations, and then if you decide to change things up, you can always go back in. If you see any of these here in your automations table, you can just click into it. You can turn them off at any time and save that. And so they're easily editable, they're easy to create. You can also kind of click over here to edit or turn off, and then if you're doing some cleanup and these don't apply anymore, you can always get rid of them too. But automations are really great just to speed up your flows and processes. So just wanted to kind of highlight a few examples that we often see folks use. So hopefully that's helpful. Give it a try, and we love to hear feedback. So let us know what you think. And then I'm going to pass it right back to Shannon to kind of wrap us up here. But uh, let's see. It looks like she has maybe she'll talk a little bit about integrations here.
Yes, I will. How did you know, Brooklyn? It's like we planned this or something. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up. I'll wrap it up for today. And the final things that we are going to touch on is going to be a little bit more about integrations. So I know Brooklyn talked earlier about how you can have different integrations and you can do that specifically with the branches. You can include those different branches in there on your integrations, which is really key. Now you'll be able to see we do have more branches on this account. This is a good example. I have taken off my access to the other branches. So I can see everything about this branch, but I can't see anything about the other branches. So it's a good example of how you can kind of limit confusion or changes or things like that for people that may not need to see other information in accounts. But if you are in the integrations, a couple of things that I wanted to talk about was the Google Calendar integration. That's going to be down here. You can see I've already connected to it. If I click right here, I'm already connected to an email that I've got right here. You can choose one whenever you want it to sync over there. I chose that whenever it moves to production, it will sync over there. Now, whenever it syncs, There's a couple of different ways. Just a reminder, you can choose multiple and you can sync them manually right here. You can also sync it by clicking on this sync button right here. So if I want to sync that over to your Google Calendar, you can. So if I go in here, let me just click a refresh right here. You can see that I have synced this event, this this Alicia and Allen, this Smith and Richards wedding. Now these are overlapping events, but you can see that I have synced those over to my calendar so I can see the data that's associated with that. I have these linked in there so I could just jump right into the workroom from I love doing that. I love having that included on there. So it just makes it really easy for me to jump in there from my calendar if you have a shared calendar. But again, you can do that. You can do that within your the description of the event and set that up. And you can set that up when it comes to branches. The other integrations that we have, and I'm not going to dig too deep into it, but I do want to talk about exactly what data gets sent over. QuickBooks is a very common one that people use. We do have a video right here that walks through that flow so that you can see that happening. Key thing I want to note about QuickBooks though, people are nervous about integrating with that because they don't want to mess anything up, and for good reason. Use invest a lot of time in your QuickBooks account. But with this QuickBooks Online, nothing is going to automatically sync. Whenever you connect it, it just opens that connection. Nothing's going to automatically sync. I typically say the best way to see the effect is to just sync one event. Go to your events page right here, just pick one event and sync that to your QuickBooks account. I don't have it integrated right now, but just sync one and that will kind of show you the flow. But for the data that gets sent over, it really does save you like double entry. So if you're using QuickBooks Online, it really does save double entry. It's going to send over the event, the invoice date, payment information, your line items, and your prices. It's going to send over, it's going to build the customer, it's going to build the invoice right there. So it just kind of builds all of that flow out in there. And it can resync. So as they make payments, you can just resync it or whatever, and it will update that in QuickBooks. The other one that we have is this Nowsta integration. This is a staffing software. Nowsta is a staffing software. Usually, I find that if you're managing a lot of staff, that's maybe when you want to use Nowsta. If you just have a few people on your team, you're probably not going to want to use Nowsta. What it will send over when you're connected to Nowsta, what it will send over to them is the event name. It's going to build out the date, the invoice total, the production notes. Those are key, the venue information, and the customer. It's going to build all of that out in Nowsta. It will build it out. You'll see the kind of the calendar on Nowsta. It's going to pop up. It's going to have that information populated here. In this case, this is just a one-way sync, a one-time sync for that one for Nowsta. So whenever you're ready, you can send it over, or whenever you want to trigger that, you can send it over to Nowsta to build it over there. But we have these two articles. We'll include this in the follow-up email. So the one for QuickBooks and the one for Nowsta, we'll include that there if you're interested in seeing those. It's got the full workflow kind of showing on there as well. The last one I will just say is the payments. Just a reminder of like what Brooklyn was talking about. Sometimes people they do want branches to have a different payment integration. That is one of the key things for having branches. That way you can have payments separate, but still have it within the same system. So I think we've already talked through Curate payments and everything that goes into that. If you have any questions with that, let us know. But okay, well, that is it. Um, um, that is everything that we have to kind of go over. Thank you so much for joining our Level Up with Curate webinar series. It's the first of its kind here at Curate, but we've had a lot of good feedback. We were at WNBA last week, so we got to connect with a lot of customers that were there, that came by the booth, and we're talking about things that we've talked about in the series. We will be sending out the recording from today, as well as the certification for everybody who's attended at least four out of the five that will be there. But we're so excited. Just keep an eye out. Look for that. Look for the we have a YouTube playlist that you can do, that you can look for if you want to go back or use those videos even for training for your team of things that's possible in the system. But we'll send that over pretty soon. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.